Snap your fingers and imagine having your own personal assistant. This assistant would take calls and book appointments for you. If you own a business, it would answer your phone when a potential customer calls, asking questions about the services you offer. Well, that's exactly what our next founder created. Meet Mohan Galati, creator of Thinker, an AI voice assistant. In this interview, Mohan shares how he created a simple MVP to validate his idea using no-code tools, how he was able to scale his business to $50,000 MRR in only 9 months. And don't miss the end of the interview where Mohan shares his advice for starting your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Myself, well, I've been in technology for over 20 years, 25 years to be exact, dating myself now, playing many different roles, all the way from being a hands-on keyboard engineer to senior executive roles inside of large Fortune 500 companies, consulting companies. Most recently, before I did the startup, I was a managing partner at Media Monks, which is a global marketing company that does consultancy, and I was running one of the technology arms.
And so what is your business?
So our business is AI voice, to make it very simple. We're an AI voice company. We have a platform that allows small to medium-sized businesses easily to make inbound and outbound calls and set that up for various different use cases in their business.
And you're a startup, right? How long have you been in business?
9 months, my friend.
And I'm excited to show the audience some of the capabilities of this because it was pretty crazy. Like I said, but we were talking before the interview here, and it was just, it sounds like you're talking to a real person. It is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start Thinker?
So like I said, I was in consultancy, and I've been in this kind of world where AI has been predominant, like the last 5-6 years have been tangentially always working on something related to AI. And, when ChatGPT hit the surface, everybody just started talking about AI like it's a new thing. And I was like, no, it's not new. This has been around. But what's new is generative AI and all the stuff that has with it. And, even generative AI is not new. It's just now it's at a point where it's mainstream. And this kind of caught wave. And a lot of the type of consultancy conversations with CEOs, CTOs that I was talking to was always like, this is great. We know we have to do something. We have no idea where to start. And those were the conversations I was having. And I kind of just said, well, wait a second, there's a gap in the market. And I felt like this is something I want to explore. And instead of working with Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, I thought, who are faster and more nimble to respond to this? And I felt it was medium to small size businesses. So that's where, and that's kind of like what changed my entire mindset. I thought, I think there's a gap in the market space. And if you jump on it now, you can be kind of having that first movers advantage. So I wanted to do that. And then Thinker itself started from a very interesting conversation. What happened was I was actually downstairs. The carburetor stopped working in my kitchen. I'm not a handyman at all. So I had to go down. It was like, go fix the carburetor. It's like, I have no idea where to start. So I pull up, what do? You do YouTube, right? You pull up YouTube, you start looking at it. And I was like, I don't even know if I should be doing that. And then the light bulb went off. I said, wait a second. What if I had like glasses? I could see what I was doing. And I started imagining, instead of fixing the thing, I started imagining what would happen. And I came up with this radical idea where I'm using my voice to literally say, tell me how to fix this thing. Should I be fixing this thing? And then tells me, no, Han, you shouldn't, because it knows me. And it says, you know what? There are 5 people in the area that could help you with this. Do you want to contact anybody? I said, that'd be cool. Yeah, I would love to. And then, great. This person can come now. This person can come and, tomorrow. And this person not available for a week. Who do you want? I'm like, the now guy. Well, if I want the now guy, great. They go, confirm that booking. Yep, confirmed. Awesome. How much does that cost me? It's going to cost me $150. Do you authorize the payment? Yes, I do. All of that was happening through voice in my head. And I was like, that inspired me. I got off the call. I was so excited. I called my buddy up in Toronto. And I said, what do you think of this idea? And he was like, Mohan, you're crazy. This is too, like, if you could make this happen, this would be like awesome. And that formed like the pillar of me starting to look into voice and AI. And that's how it kind of started. That was the whole premise of where I got started on this.
And so you've been going for 9 months. How long ago was that thought, that inspiration that you got?
That was, I would say, almost a year. It was exactly around this time of the year. I remember because this is my wife's birthday week. So I kind of had that in my head. So it was around this time last year that I got that idea. And then I started to do some market research. I started to look at the tech, started to do what I do to start understanding what happens. And is it even possible, right? That's what I wanted to learn. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So in 3 months, you went from idea to startup?
I did. I even did some, like, even before I started to call this a business, before I did any kind of startup, I did a lot of like self-learning, a lot of like going and understand the technology, where it's at, testing different things out. It was just so much fun, to be honest with you. And talking to a lot of people. That's the other thing that I like to do. I like to, like, when I get an idea, I want to see how people respond to it, right? Because I've always been kind of an entrepreneur. On my first startup, I've done 2 others before this. In light of that, I was like, okay, I wanted to make sure that this idea made sense. What's the most basic killer that I need to solve for? And I realized it was like appointment setting. And can you do that easily for a business without, making it basically frictionless? That was the question. Could I do that? And I did a lot of early POCs to figure out if I could. And the answer, of course, was yes. And this was like constant feedback with the early POC. It sounds too robotic. Doesn't sound good. There's a little this problem, that problem. It kind of stumbled here, stumbled there. It's like, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to do this. The quality of the call, the quality of the conversation cannot be sacrificed. That's got to be the first and the most important thing. It has to be kind of intelligent in that way, and have the right guardrails, have the right understanding, and stay on topic. And that's where I started to, embed myself in the early days of when we started this business.
How did you validate this idea to know that you weren't just building something that maybe people weren't interested in? Because obviously they could use it, but some people adopting AI, they're slower to adopt AI, right? So how did you validate that idea with people you thought would be your customer?
So let's go back to like, who were my first kind of people that I was talking to who were potential users to me, right? So I always think people overcomplicate starting a business. You go to the people you know and the people you trust and who are going to tell you the way it is, right? They're not going to sugarcoat things. I went to family and friends and I started talking to them. And actually, my sister is in a business called WFG, which is the World Financial Group. It's a financial advisor, do a lot of financial literacy and so on. And I started just kind of telling her about my idea and she just got really, really excited. So I showed some early POCs and of course she told me right away, the voice is not going to work. It's not going to be good enough. And the ease of use, and she's totally technology agnostic. So I took her as my very first kind of POC. And then I just went from there. I started going to like a lot of other people who were either in that same kind of industry or had a small business and started asking them, would you use this? Would you not use this? I talked to a real estate agent. I talked to a mortgage broker. I talked to like all these various different types of small businesses. The list goes on. And interestingly enough, I started talking to more and more financial advisors as well. And I found out that they actually spend a ton of time on the phone all day making appointments, just calling, ringing, making appointments. I thought, this is a problem that I can solve. And I asked them questions like, if we could make this happen for you on autopilot, would you use it? How much would you pay? What would you do? Right? Like all these types of questions that you want to know the answer to before you invest your time, money, and everything else into it. And it was a resounding absolutely yes, right? Couple that with what's happening with people's awareness around AI. So as of like October last year, over 80% of consumers knew or had heard about AI. That was a phenomenal uptick in awareness about any kind of new technology, right? And then get this, at that time, it was over 25% of those people had actually tried some form of AI. Again, mind-boggling numbers, right? 25% of people have tried this technology. It's like, so it validated for me that this is like, and just keeping up with the news, how fast AI was going, right? So all those things coupled together, like that's how I started to validate my idea. And a little bit was risky, I have to admit. Like you have to take a little bit of risk. You can't do any kind of idea if you're not willing to take a risk, at least not something that this had such great payback and such great uptick. So
how did you start to develop this?
Yeah, I mean, the straight point is like when you do a POC like this, you go and look at what existing solutions are there and you try to say, for me, it was like, don't invest a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And validate your idea. So I found a number of people that were in the voice space. I started looking at who was also creating things back then. And I did a lot of like no code platforms. I did a lot of Make. Have you heard of Make or Zapier? These are like no code platforms that you can use and kind of string together a solution where you're just dialing a phone number. And then you dial a phone number, you just talk to an AI agent, and got that working relatively quickly with the tech that was available back then for me to try out things with.
So you didn't have to hire an engineer or anything I don't know how much coding experience you have, but.
No, believe it or not, that much coding I could do. I'm quite technical. So in the sense that I can talk tech, I can understand tech, but I haven't coded in a long time. So this didn't require coding per se, because again, I was using a no code platform. And luckily enough, there was some like, I have to understand the basics of like, you know, web programming and how that works, but I had that already and was able to do this. Yeah.
So kind of keep the story going here. Found your first proof of concept. How long did it take you to kind of get that workable? Like, this product, people can use this.
Yeah, I remember testing this out with my friend who's a real estate agent, January post-Christmas dinner. So literally that's how fast I started to have something to show people. And my co-founder, when I started the business, that's what I showed him to get him hooked on this. And he's the technical developer arm that you're talking about.
So you've built this kind of up. You've found the inspiration. You found the validation. How'd you get your first customer? What was that like?
So the way I got this is I did a seminar, a webinar, one to many. That was my solution. So I went in person and I spoke to a group of over 100 people. We put a poster out there. She helped me advertise in her network. And I went in person and I presented the solution. And I did 2 different webinars that weekend. And as a result of that, I came back with my first customers. Not one, multiple customers.
And what feedback from those early users helped refine your product?
Man, so much. So one thing you'll understand about financial advisors is they're not tech savvy. So it validated our core concept, which is we need to make this tech really accessible, super easy to use, repeatable, and that we had to also make sure that we had some kind of repeatable process to onboard these people, to make sure that they're getting the support that they needed. We did a lot of hand-holding those first days to understand what was easy to use and what wasn't.
Do you mind talking a little bit about revenue?
Well, so from that time to talk to now, but where we are in revenue, so we broke even. We're a team of about 15 people, and we've done that 2 months ago. So now we're revenue positive. We're right now on target to get to 50K MMR a month.
What strategies have been most effective in acquiring and retaining customers?
In terms of effort, especially when you're a startup, you have to think about the effort you put into acquisition. So we started off with a lot of one-to-many approach, a lot of webinars, a lot of in-person webinars, online webinars, a lot of groups, getting invited into Facebook groups and talking to people about things where there's an audience that we could speak to that would be interested in what we're doing. That's been working great. And that's definitely a great acquisition strategy. We did a lot of organic as well. Honestly, the organic was kind of hit and miss. It's mostly because we're learning. I think organic's a great channel. Don't get me wrong. So somebody I knew actually from Wonderkin, a great company, got wind of what I was doing. And he's like, come down, let's do an interview with you on AI and retail. And we did that. And that led to a lot of interest as well. Right. So and now we're getting into the place where, we've talked about small businesses. We talked about agencies. Now we're getting into the conversation with enterprises.
When we first set up this interview, I knew this was going to be big.
Yeah.
And I think every small business across the entire nation could use this. But it wasn't until I used it last night where I was like, okay, literally every single small business in the entire country, you have unlimited potential here, just unfreaking limited potential. And so with that, who do you think is your main customer right now?
If you asked me that question 2 months ago, I would have said financial advisors, right? That's who we're locked in goal going after, because there's 60,000 agents just in UFG itself. Now targeting influencers on YouTube who are doing that. And we have a great affiliate program for them to just jump in on this. So we went very aggressive. We've come out with a 40% affiliate program. So you can do the math at 500 a pop. That's $200 for the lifetime they remain a customer.
That in the SaaS world, there's that big bad word churn.
You need metrics.
Yeah.
First thing you need is numbers. And, in the startup world, we're not that great at numbers. How many people did we even get this week? We're looking at that and dealing with it. And that's where you have to one of the things that you'll hear a lot of people who were successful and had built businesses, they'll talk about how they wish they had paid more attention to the numbers and kind of had the dashboards in place and done that. So we're actually putting in place all those numbers to see that. The way to handle churn, we actually have a really good solution for that. Call our voice AI. You need some support, call our voice AI. So guess what we're working on? Our own product that we'll use first ourselves, but then make available to all of our business owners as well. How do I do this? Well, the way you do this is go on, XYZ. And we've been getting those calls. We've got loads and loads of video recordings and transcripts of all of our kind of constant conversations that we had. We've got this rich database that we can just use to now serve and answer questions that our customers have.
Are there any key partnerships or collaborations that have been really helpful and influential in your growth?
One of the things I realized very quickly is that I've done a lot of enterprise level sales, but this was a different beast, right? To do this and to learn how to do that, and even the marketing around it and all that. So I registered myself up for a coaching group online. I found it on Facebook, and these guys resonated with me. And we started talking, and they quickly found out what I was doing. And they're like, hey, let's help you. Let's partner together. And that's actually part of the reason why we've had such great success. Because a lot of startups will wait and try to do everything on their own. And I've been around the block enough to know that you know what you're good at and know what you need help on. And I realized that working with these guys would help me. So I actually did form, they're called, you're going to love this, the GSD, which stands for Get Done. So they joined our group, and they've been phenomenal in helping us as partners.
Yes, I love that. I love that tagline too. So like, how have you educated people that are hesitant to use AI?
It has to be part of our pitch, right? There has to be a training that goes on. AI is not well known. You need to educate people. You need to kind of give them the knowledge of what it is, how it works, and also have a very strong position. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong with AI, right? A lot of the common objections that you hear is like, well, is this allowed? Does the government allow this to happen? And stuff. It's like, well, they do, but here's what you need to know about. And, could this be used to, do something that's illegal, or could it do something that could do something bad? And like the word is absolutely, hey, use the internet, right? Do you know how it's used every day? There's a lot of things that go on that shouldn't happen, right? So it's about how you use it, how you choose to use it, and what can you do to prevent people from doing that. So one of the things that we do is all of our voice technology, when you would ask the voice technology, are you an AI? It would answer absolutely. It will never duck that question, right? People are asking me all about AI voice cloning. Can we have AI voice cloning? And for the time being, I'm resisting it. It's too easy to abuse. Now, there are a lot of platforms that allow you to do voice cloning, but that's where I want to make a choice and kind of see how long I can stick my guns to it until I get a way in which I can kind of know that people are not going to use it in a wrong way. I'm going to stick to that decision.
So coming into the end of the interview, where do you see AI in 2 to 3 years?
I think in 2 to 3 years, everybody's going to have an AI voice assistant. Nobody's going to pick up the phone first without having somebody screen it and qualify it and then do a live transfer. I think people are going to have AI voice virtual assistants that are not like Siri or not like Alexa, but they are actually that know your business, right? That knows your data in your CRM, that knows, hey, I just got out of a meeting with Chris. Can you just add this note to my CRM? And by the way, can you call them and book an appointment in a month to find out when he's available? That's the world that I think we're going into. And I think that's not even that world, I think is 6 months away. But the world where everybody has a reception, yeah, absolutely.
I watched a video. It was a video of you guys showing Thinker last night on YouTube. One of your partners, it was making phone calls to people, to small businesses, and they just weren't answering. And, I've had that exact same experience where we needed an HVAC system, and, you call 5 guys and they don't answer. And so what do? You go to the next person. So they're literally helping their competitors be number one.
85% of people in the US, when they call a number and you don't pick up the first time, what do? They go to the next one. And they just go down their Rolodex because you don't want to miss a call.
As a business owner, is there any education, books, courses, anything like that that's made a significant impact on how you run your business?
You're going to like this one. Actually, it's about how you build a great team. And I find a book called Radical Candor extremely helpful because it takes away all the BS and builds a culture of being able to work with clear communication with everybody on your team. And honestly, helps to emancipate them. So, that's when you're running a small company and you got to make the right people on the team. It's so important, right? So that's one of the books that I recommend to people to absolutely start.
What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own business?
It sounds glamorous. It sounds like it's, exciting, and it is very exciting, but it is extremely stressful. There's a lot on your shoulders and you have to love what you do. If you don't care about the problem enough, if you're not passionate enough about it, you will give up. You won't make it, and you have to really believe in it. The one thing also I will say for any business that you've done, you have to have a vision, right? Thinker.ai's vision is really clear. We want to make voice AI, make it simple, right? It's accessible, easy to use. That is the place where we're going to live. We're not competing against any other platform. Why? Because nobody else is doing what we're doing. Nobody else taking a repeatable iPhone app type experience and repeating that over and over again to make it easy for businesses to just start doing what they need to do. They don't need to know about the tech. I got an iPhone, just let me call. I got an app, let me just use it, right? That's the mentality, that's the model that we're working with, and that's our vision. And any entrepreneur that you start, make your idea that simple, that you can explain it and people can get it.
Where can people find more about you and your business?
Yeah, so obviously our website's a great place to start. It's thinker.ai. And of course, myself personally, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, both at the handle of @thinker or my personal handle at Mohan Galati. Both of those are available and you can access me there. I'm pretty easy to find because I'm very, very online.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mohan. It's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to see you guys grow more. And again, thanks for sharing so many inspirational words. It's been great.
Thank you, Corey.